Never miss an episode of the Final Furlong podcast. Subscribe now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And now, here's your host, Emmet Kennedy.
Welcome to the Final Furlong Podcast and the weekend review. We've got a huge amount of racing to delve into, and we're going to do so with a packed top-class team. We've got Adam Mills here, as usual. International racing expert Archie Brooks returns to the podcast, making her debut on the show. It's not actually her debut. We recorded an episode before that just disappeared into the ether after hours and hours of her work. Just disappeared. But she's back, thankfully. Bloodstock expert Laura Joy and the voice of Irish betting, Jamie Wrenn, all here to break down a sensational weekend of racing, beginning with Oisin Murphy back in the winner's enclosure in Group 1 company for the Lockinge Stakes. It's the second year in a row the Gosdens have won the race. Lead artist has really only disappointed once. That was on his comeback behind Dancing Gemini. He has absolutely and emphatically turned that form around, Adam Mills, but he is not favoured to do so in the Queen Anne at Royal Ascot. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it makes sense. I think the Newbury Straight Course favours that kind of ride. He's come away with the right horse, Dancing Gemini, but I can't help but think in the third and fourth are better horses. The sectional times would certainly suggest that point. The fastest furlong in the race was 10.84 seconds for the sixth furlong, which Rosallion and Notable Speech ran the identical time for the sixth furlong, and they've tired. They've got to get closer. I'm personally not entirely convinced Dancing Gemini wants to go up in trip. I think 7 furlongs might be his trip. So you kind of put all that together and you think lead artist was very, very good. But surely the other two come past him. Their 3-year-old form would certainly suggest they will. Yeah,
I have a feeling that Jamie's going to very much feel that way about one of them in particular. Archie, what was your thoughts on the race? And to be fair, Dancing Gemini has been considered a Group 1 challenger by his trainer, and he went close in the French 2000 Guineas and then just sort of derailed last season in a difficult season for the team. But that run proves he is a proper Group 1 horse.
Yeah, I agree there. That Gemini he has been a really solid horse so far this season. I think the one I would take out of it personally is Notable Speech. Like, if you saw him in the back, you could throw him down the hill. He was that big. I was actually with Rosallion for most of the winter. That worried me a bit. I thought he ran with credit, but I was still a bit disappointed with him. I think going into the Queen Anne, I would be with Notable Speech.
See, I'm not so sure about that, Laura. In fact, I take a very dim view of Notable Speech. I think he won a horrible running of the Sussex Stakes, probably the worst one you'll ever see. And he was just race fit. He was the fittest horse in the 2000 Guineas, but Rosallion shaped like the better horse. Thought he had a fair old chance the weekend, especially with Charlie Appleby's horses running so well. I know that the Hannon team were very, very bullish about Rosallion, so what do you make of that and his defeat? We haven't seen him since Royal Ascot, to be fair. What do you make of the overall form of those 4?
Well, the 4 are obviously heading the betting for the Queen Anne, which tells a story in itself as well. I wouldn't lose faith in either. Fourth, I was a little bit concerned before the race with how nervous Richard Hannon seemed pre-race interview. He can often be he comes across much more confident typically, and his voice was almost shaking pre-race beforehand. So I was concerned because, like Archie, all through the winter, I was dying to see Rosallion back. Thought he was a brilliant horse last year. It was such a shame we didn't see him past the summer. And again, also going to agree again with Archie and disagree with you about Notable Speech. I thought he was the one to take out of it. I wasn't there, but he did look like your typical little roly-poly Dubowie that needs a run. Charlie Appleby said as much after the race, and even I think John Gosden remarked about it with the lead artist benefiting from his outing, even if he didn't do much at Sandown pre-race as well. So Notable Speech is the one of the first 4 home there I'd be taking into the Queen Anne, but not giving up on Rosallion, and also probably fence-sitting a little bit in saying that lead artist, could he be a Sharon of this year, or something that's going to blossom into a champion miler this year, potentially.
So I was down in Cork with a friend of mine who's back from Australia, so I completely missed the race interview. I didn't realise Hannon was so nervous because I was interviewing Carl Burke on Friday morning for TalkSport, and he was telling me that he was getting slagging texts from Richard Hannon saying, there's no point in you turning up to this juvenile race at York today. I'm going to win this. By the way, that's not what happened. Carl Burke won the race. And the horse that Carl Burke gave us for his only juvenile to follow, Venetian Sun, bolted up today on debut as a well-backed favourite, so keep her in mind. But he was adamant that Fallen Angel was desperately in need of the run and that you won't see the best of her until Royal Ascot, and kept reiterating the Hannons are so confident about Rosallion. But not on the day, you're saying?
It didn't come across like that anyway. Like, I don't know him personally, but just, like, as you say, he can typically seem quite confident about his horses, and he seemed very much quick to say, you are not going to see the best of him today.
Okay, that's valuable info. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to blame Colm Kiley for having me consuming large quantities of alcohol for not knowing that. Jamie, what was your overall sense of the first four? Because basically last night you were telling me there's only one horse to take out of this for the Queen Anne, and he's a certainty.
Yeah, Rosallion's a certainty in the Queen Anne. Yeah, can I be any other horse? I'm just saying about it there. We were talking last night. I thought it was a great run first time out after a year off. It's looked like he looked the winner coming down, but obviously I'm just skeptical. I'm not going to criticise. I'm not into criticising jockeys, but Ryan Moore, I thought, lost it. I'd say at the furlong, between 2 and 4. He went the other side of the track like he did with Ides of March. It's the wrong side. O'Shea Murphy took his time and went the side to the standside by the rail and got the run then to beat him. I think if Dancing Gemini waited a little bit more, but I kind of starting to agree with Adam is that he could be just a straight 7 furlong horse. That York race now, isn't it, is being promoted to Grade 1, isn't it, in the Ebor Festival, isn't it, the 7 furlong race? It could be for that. But no, I had to take out Rosallion, took out a mile, and I think I'd be really worried about Notable's speech at Ascot the way he ran. I know the St. James's Palace is around the bend, but it wasn't great there last year, and I think Rosallion will win the Queen Anne. 4-1 to find out. I'll see. I haven't backed anything out yet, but I think Rosallion will win the Queen Anne, yeah. No problem.
So we tip lead artist on the Final Furlong podcast, which does then mean that you're somewhat incentivized to go, well, of course the best horses won. How did everybody not know? But looking back on the race, like he
could step up lead artist though, Emmet, because it's 1 over a mile and 1, and I think he could step up to be a Juddmonte horse, yeah. At York in August, yeah. So, yeah, I think he could be better over 10 furlongs, yeah.
They're saying it's going to lash rain here today, which, Laura, not good news for us, but oh well. But hopefully the unseasonably hot weather comes back, and he obviously loves good to firm ground. That brings out the best in him. He should love the stiff mile at Ascot. I just don't really, Adam, see a logical reason as why is it so obvious that Rosallion and Notable Speech turned that form around with him.
It's not necessarily that obvious. I wouldn't put you off back in lead artists if you wanted to, but sure, it just the way they both shaped suggested to me they weren't right. And lead artist, I mean, I wrote a preview of the balls of the Lockinge, and I was like, well, lead artist ain't going to win because that run at Sandown was rancid. He was sort of right down the pecking order. We'll just remove that off the ATR site later. No one needs to see it. But the point is kind of like he took a massive step forwards, obviously, clearly, to get right for the Lockinge. To take a massive step forwards. They're not that far behind. They ran faster sectional times. They just blew up. They both blew up in the final furlong. And I think if they were all race fit and had all run their races, the other two would have got much closer, if not in front of him. So with the benefit of another 6 weeks or 5 weeks, whatever it is, I just think they'll reverse it. And if you think about their 3-year-old form, Rosallion was miles in front of lead artist in my book. So I don't see any reason to desert him or Notable Speech at this point.
Yeah, and the straight mile at the Curragh really suited him. Like he was very, very brave to go up and beat Hattem. Hattem then pranks that form in the Jersey Stakes afterwards. So that all looks good. He should improve for that run. Why is Notable Speech going to fire at Ascot this year, Laura, when he didn't fire last year?
Very good question. I wouldn't say there's any reason to think he didn't like Ascot last year. He has a tendency, doesn't he, he's probably not the most consistent horse. You know, if you look back, he kind of puts in a good performance, then he can throw in a stinker. Now that's becoming a little bit apparent with him. I just think that he looked like, on the TV, granted, he looked like he was really going to improve for it. I thought Rosallion was probably the last one off the bridle, but Notable Speech was being niggled along into it, and he probably travelled like the winner until he blew up. So can just see him taking a massive step forward. I'm not against lead artists. Like I could see eyes as well. He's bred to progress. Dubowis, we've seen time and time again, they just get better and better as they get older. And it's a family of older mares and older fillies and older horses that just kept improving. So a brave person to go against him, but I would give Notable Speech a fancy anyway to step forward and worry him a little bit more this time.
Okay, the Boyle Sports Lockinge is obviously a fantastic race in its own right, and we greatly respect it. And It's brilliant. This was a really strong renewal, but we are taking a view to the future. It's becoming like Cheltenham for the flat. Royal Ascot, the betting is headed by Rosallion. He's 4-1 to go significantly further. Dancing Gemini is as big as 5s, as short as 3s with some firms. Lead Artist is 6-1. Jeez. A Notable Speech, 5-1 across the board except for one firm who goes 6-1. And that firm, when they go a big price, tends to have a good record of getting horses duffed. So, your overall view right now, if you have a mythical free bet on the Queen Anne. Laura, you're with Notable Speech by the sounds of things.
I actually have a little bit of an outsider. She's running this weekend. She's making her seasonal return. Donna O'Brien's filly, Porta Fortuna. I think she was brilliant there last year, granted against her own sex, but she was just a brilliant filly. I mean, her only poor effort was over in America, and you can allow that after a tough season. The fact they've kept her in training, I think, says a lot. There's not much else she can achieve. And I like the fact that they're giving her a run this weekend. She's set to run the Group 2. I think it's on 2,000 Guineas Day in Ireland. So, yeah, I think I wouldn't say you need to go and back her now, because she could easily get beaten at the weekend, and I would still be potentially on side with her for it. I think she's about 16-1 for the Queen Anne.
No, because you went around backing her before you came on this show, and you've smashed her odds into 10-1. So thanks a bunch for that.
Wow.
She's actually gone 8-1 across the board, Laura. This is the significance of Laura Joy going around to all the different bookmakers, throwing her fortunes on, taking as much money as possible. All the prices have been 16-1 you got. 8.
Well, I thought that's what she was this morning. I could be wrong, but maybe.
I should have got you on the show ages ago. All right, Laura has had a significant impact, taken all the fancy 16-1, and now we're left with the 8-1 scraps. We'll see her this weekend at the Irish Guineas weekend. By the way, we'll reveal the winners of our competition tickets for all 3 days of the Irish Guineas weekend in a little bit. So Porta Fortuna for Laura. Really interesting shout, by the way. And See the Fire has already come out and shown what the 3-year-old fillies from last year are capable of as 4-year-olds. Adam, for you, for the Queen Anne?
I think it's between the three of them, Lead Artist, Rosallion, Notable Speech. Looking at my screen, I can get 6's Notable Speech. So that would probably be a little bit of value, but I'm not. It's not the sort of race I'd be massively rushing to have a bet at this stage.
I can't stand Notable Speech. I just can't stand that horse. I will speak very, very positively about a Godolphin horse later on. But that fella, no. Archie. Don't do it, Archie. Don't say him. Yeah. Don't say him.
No, it has to be Notable Speech.
Oh.
I'm happy to say with Notable Speech going in there. Like I say, I think he'll come on a ton for that. But I think I forgot. I'm just forgotten about Hatem. Like he obviously needed the run at Sandown. 33-1 now. He's got course form, having won Jersey last year, and I'd be inclined to small bet on him each way.
I quite like that, Archie, and there's very little between him and Rosallion, as we saw last season. That makes sense to me. And Jamie, no prizes for guessing. All about Rosallion for you.
Yeah, Rosallion will win the Queen Anne, yeah.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Let's take a look at some of the sprint divisions, shall we? We'll begin with Ger Lyons' 3-year-old filly, Babouche. And we did say on the podcast on Thursday that she wouldn't need to improve a whole lot and to keep the faith with her on the back of her comeback run at Cork, because Ger was adamant she needed it. Didn't think that she would absolutely murder Whistlejacket, though. Now, Aidan O'Brien didn't exactly sound confident in the parade ring beforehand, though, on Racing TV, Laura. He was saying he's going to need this run. He'll improve for it, and whatever he does today, he'll be better. So maybe Whistlejacket isn't one we should be giving up on, but my goodness, Ger Lyons' filly was very, very impressive.
She was brilliant. And Aidan's comment surprised me a little bit, because he had a run and won as well. So you're kind of wondering how much improvement he actually can find. But I've thought Ger Lyons' comments were very interesting about Babouche. He said that they made a mistake dropping her back in trip for her seasonal reappearance over the 5.5, and 6 is her absolute minimum. So surely on that evidence, she's just made for 6 furlongs at Ascot.
Yeah, I would think so. She's got to be a leading player for that race now, Adam.
Yeah, I would think so. I'm not. I don't know. Did Whistlejacket need the run, or was he outpaced? Because to my eye, he just looked outpaced at the 2 furlong pole. But that was really impressive.
Well, we debated this a year ago. We were saying this is a horse who's going to get a mile in time, and he's going to need to go up and trip eventually. That's kind of what he was shaping like yesterday, at least 7 furlongs.
I think the problem is he starts his races really well, so you get the impression, the speed, but I just felt like he just didn't look to be able to go with her, and that kind of would be ringing alarm bells for me, especially at Ascot. I mean, it's it doesn't feel like it's ever going to rain ever again in the UK. It's just been dry. It's not going to rain. So, Ascot.
This is what my complexion is supposed to look like. This is what it now looks like.
Yeah, I've noticed you're rocking a bit of a red tan there.
But I'll have you know it's brown. You get. I used to go bright pink back in the day. That doesn't happen anymore. I go brown now. So this is what I should look like. This is what I look like. This is what Ireland now is, thankfully. If this is global warming, by the way, sign me up.
Yeah, well, we'll leave your Donald Trump comments for another day. But I think it's sort of if you assume that it's
going to be the best weather, it's going to be incredible.
If we assume it's going to be sort of good to firm at Ascot, which at the moment looks likely, I just would think Whistlejack is just going to be outpaced at this trip. I just think, and everyone goes, it's a stiff finish, but it's like, it's a stiff finish if the leaders are stopping. On good to firm ground, it's not that stiff. They won't come back, and I could just see him travelling to the 3 furlong pole, being shaken up. He might stay on again, but I wasn't convinced by that. But she's very good. Very good.
Yeah, I think overall, Archie, he probably needs softer ground. He was the only horse sent off as an odds-on favourite for Royal Ascot last year, so that tells you the regard he was held in, at least at that time. He just hasn't quite gone forward, and the comments from Aidan yesterday were a little bit worrying for him. That being said, what Babouche did was really, really impressive, and she's now clear second favourite for the Commonwealth.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty disappointed with Whistlejack yesterday. He's obviously not as good as Little Big Bear was. Yeah, to be fair, Little Big Bear, in his 3-year-old season, I thought Whistlejack was going to go and win yesterday, but obviously the run at Cork has obviously brought Babouche a fair bit, and I would personally make her favourite going into the Commonwealth Cup. Like, she was rapid when she was asked to go there. And I was really impressed with her.
Has the Appleby team confirmed what they're going to do with Shadow of Light? Are they going to go to St James's Palace Stakes, stay at a mile, or come back?
I'm not sure yet. I don't know if anyone else has heard anything, but I'd personally prefer him to stay over the mile. I think he'd be better over a mile. Yeah,
I agree. I think you go for the Derby ruling court and give Shadow of Light the opportunity to stay the mile, and if he doesn't stay it, then drop him back in a July Cup later on. But it just means that she's absolutely the standout horse for the race right now. If he does not line up, Jamie, then Babouche is clearly the standout horse for the race.
Yeah, I kind of fell in love with her when she beat Camille Pizarro last year in the Anglesey Dakota. She didn't handle Newmarket behind Lake Victoria, and she obviously blatantly need, like Laura said there, the run at Cork, and the stake Ger Lyons made. He said dropping her back to 5.5. I was a little bit worried about the Newmarket run. Really, just like, I know it's Newmarket, but will she travel over to Ascot like she did when she wins in Ireland? Do you know what I mean? That's why small. I can't see a price, to be honest with you, Emmet. Whistlejacket, it just proves my theory with Whistlejacket is that he needs soft ground.
Yeah. In
the description. To have any chance to be in a grade 1, 6 furlong, 7 furlong mile horse, he needs soft in the gun. All his best form is on soft, good to soft or soft ground. Beating Ides of March on his debut. I'm not buying Aidan O'Brien, what he's saying about he needed to run. He beat Ides of March on his debut this year on soft ground. So he needs soft ground and move on. But I thought
Listen, Aidan, horse. Did you hear that, Aidan?
I thought the horse that I can't see a price for it. Might be wrong, but I thought Symbol of Honour was the best one I've seen all weekend, beating the Ides of March at Newbury. And it's a 3-year-old. It's a gelding. Yeah. Is that what it is? Yeah. Like, that's why I couldn't find it. I thought that was the best performance over 6 furlongs the weekend, to be honest with you. But I couldn't put anyone off Babouche. I like her. Am I saying she's a Commonwealth Cup winner yet? I'm sitting on the fence. I'm sorry. I love her. I think she's a really good horse, but Ger Lyons record at Ascot.
Yeah.
It shouldn't, but slightly.
I was thinking that yesterday, and then I reminded myself, hang on a second, he went to the Breeders' Cup and won the juvenile turf. So,
yeah.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Maybe let's not worry too much about that.
I haven't seen a Commonwealth Cup winner at the moment, to be honest with you. I'm not 100% setting that race yet.
I wonder if Ides of March could step up, because he wanted to take on Symbol of Honour. He was on the wrong side at Newbury.
Yeah.
Laura?
I was thinking about Arizona Blaze. I think just because he made he was third in that Guineas trial at Leopardstown behind Henri Matisse, beating a length, obviously he was a non-stayer. He led the whole way, and that form's been franked. And then he went over to France and won the Prix Siggy over 5 by 2.5 lengths. So he did it very well. The only question is he as effective on fast ground? Not 100% sure. But he dominated there, and I could see him getting involved at quite a big price as well. He's entered in the Sandy Lane, I think, at the weekend as well. So that's another one that could make me look stupid in a few days. But he could be worth a shout.
He's one you haven't backed yet because he's 16-1 across the board. He hasn't quite been sliced into 8-1 just yet, Arizona Blaze, but we'll see him this weekend in the Irish Guineas. Last week we saw the return of Inisherin for the Kevin Ryan yard. It was really good to see him. Not at all being patronising here. It's great to see him with a proper Group 1 performer. He was a really high-class sprinter last season, Laura, in the 3-year-old division. He was much the best in the Commonwealth Cup. For all that race did fall apart on the day, but still, he won it in good style. And then he ran well afterwards, but just wasn't really able to match that form. But they backed him as though defeat was out of the question at York, and that's because it was.
Yeah, he's had a wind up over the winter, so whether that's had a bearing on that, unsure. I was at York actually on Wednesday, and it looked like he'd really, really improved for the run. So it was good to see him winning, and in good fashion as well. That typical Shamrock coming through. So I'm a big fan of his. I saw him at the Guineas last year and thought he was the paddock pick. He ran well over a mile there. I think he's a serious horse.
Have you heard anything about the Justify Storm Boy and how he's settled into Ballydoyle?
I haven't heard anything. Did notice in a couple of social media clips and that he's wearing a hood at home, which is interesting because it's not something that they typically reach for. So we'll see how he is. But I mean, he's dominated down there, and they typically are better than us at sprinting in Australia. So he's a fascinating contender. Yeah. And
also Aidan O'Brien with an ex-Australian horse at Royal Ascot, Haradison, So You Think, Merchant Navy, Star Spangled Banner. Step Forward Storm Boy, who'll probably do it as well. I mention him, Adam, because that means Ryan Moore, of course, will be riding him. We're going to see Storm Boy soon enough. He might need his first run to acclimatise to the Northern Hemisphere, but that Son of Justify is going to be very, very interesting. That being said, though, the horse that Ryan rode last week will go to Royal Ascot with a massive chance.
He'll go there with a chance. I mean, the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee, I don't know what this race is called now.
It is now called the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee Stakes.
Well, 2 weeks ago, I thought, I've got this race by the coconuts because everyone's watching Chester and no one's watching Shanty. The winner of this race has just bolted up at Shanty. And then Hugh Taylor and Simon Rowlands both opened their big gobs and went, I'll tell you what, that performance from Lazat would suggest he's going to win the QE. And no, price has gone. Don't know whether I want to take 4-1, but I don't want to take Lazat on. And while this was a battling performance from Inisherin, he's not.
So Lazat just in a different league to this lot.
Yeah, they had one go at the start of the season in March. They decided to see can we stretch him out to a mile. We ran on softish ground at Sonclue, didn't really get home, wasn't really fit. Quickly decided this is a bad idea. Back to 6 furlongs at Shanty. He bolted up. I mean, he beat nothing. Vicious Harry would be 200-1 in a Group 1, but I just think Lazat's different gravy to this lot, and I will be absolutely heartbroken if he lines up and doesn't destroy this field.
Did they take him to Australia last year? Or was
they did.
Did that work?
It went all right. He finished second. I just felt like last year it's very difficult because you quite often get quite good 3-year-olds in France that are gelded, and it's sort of like, what do we do in the summer? Then they went to Dover and it worked perfectly. Personally, I think there was kind of the experiment of, because he's a gelding, we're going to go international, but this year seems a lot more of a structured plan. One little go at the mile, it didn't work. And all the comments are, Ascot's the plan, this is what we want. And I think this is just perfect for him. Stiff finish, he'll blast out from the front. I think he's 120 running against horses who just aren't. So I don't want to take him on, for all that I'd rather some more famous people than me hadn't already put him up as a tip because the price is gone.
I needed a quick refresher there. He was only beaten 3.5 lengths for all that he finished 9th in Shot-In in the Group 1. But he wasn't beaten far by Voyage Bubble and almost certainly needed his comeback run. And then, the other day was just wildly impressive. Archie, you're the international racing expert. What do you make of the current division? Inisherin, where he fits in it. Storm Boy coming over for the Coolmore mob from Australia, and Lazat, who Hugh Taylor has, well, tanked his price.
Well, I've got another one for you that you haven't mentioned yet. Noriki Hori is bringing over Satono Rev from Japan, who was just beaten 2 lengths by Kaiying Rising at Cheltenham last month. And I think he's a bit underrated going to this, but he's a really good horse. He's improving all the time. You know, Japan aren't known for producing top-class sprinters, but I think 10-1, me, looks a pretty big price. He's a top-class sprinter. And then regarding Stormboy, I think he's coming out in the Greenlands this weekend. I think he's making his debut this weekend. He was just below the top class in Australia, and you know their sprinters are a lot better than ours. And I would have him going into the Jubilee as well. I think he's going to make a big impact on our sprinting scene this year.
Yeah, I couldn't say anything about the Japanese horse, but I really respect that you're putting him up. According to the Racing Post, he's won 7 of his 11 races, but they might not even have the full form database for him. So he's going to be an intriguing one, and thank you for sharing him, because I didn't know about him at all. Jamie, I'm just going to blindly follow our good friend Aidan O'Brien, our close personal friend Aidan. Every single time he gets one of these ex-Australian horses, he gets them to win at Royal Ascot. It took an extra year with So You Think, but he did it with all the rest of them, so thanks very much. That'll do for me. As much as I thought Inisherin was good, Stormboy, how far?
I don't care what he does, really, to be honest with you. I'm being blunt, I don't care what he does in the Greenlands at the weekend. He'll be out for a stroll, and we see and I think he might run in both races in Ascot, to be honest with you. He might run in the King Stands, I always call it, and the Jubilee. We'll see after that. But Inisherin going forward, the only problem I have with Inisherin is that he's form. Obviously, he needed a wind up. The other question is, what did he really beat in the Commonwealth Cup? But he did beat Lake Forest, and Lake Forest beat Adam Mills Lazat. So I suppose there's your form, really, and thing. Adam seems to think Lazat will go. And I saw that race, Shanti. That was seriously impressive. Maybe, like as Archie said, the Japanese horse, I'm sorry, don't have a clue about that horse. I haven't seen it. I must watch it now since you said it. But at the moment, looking at it, Stormboy versus Lazat at the moment, I think they'll beat Inisherin, because that Commonwealth Cup, to be honest with you, isn't great from last year. There was 2 eye catchers in that race, really. It was Night Raider is now a super price for the Temple on Saturday at Haydock, but I think the drop back to 5 and let him go over 5 furlongs, I think he could be a non-top horse down the line. I know he's won over 7 furlongs in the all-weather, and there's definitely a day in elite status, whatever. You know, these sprinters now, one is to go wins one day and the other wins the next day. Maybe like a Spring Cup at Haydock in September, maybe. It was a short price favourite for that last year. No, it was a shortest price last year for that. But to take out of that race, really, are Night Raider and elite status in a share or beating Stormboy Lazat.
I'm very glad you mentioned Night Raider, because I asked Carl Burke about him on Friday morning for TalkSport, and he said Oisin Murphy's comment to him was, he must have needed the run, but if you drop this horse back to 5 furlongs, they won't get near him. Yeah.
If you give me a price with a non-top now, I back him.
Oh, King Charles III. Let's not wait for York. Let's just get stuck into Royal Ascot. Actually, what price is he? Because I'm pretty sure I saw 16s, unless Laura's come in and destroyed that price again. 16s! Laura, don't. Wait, Laura. Let us get a few quid on first, and then you can go mad. 16-1 about Night Rider, and Carl Burke did sound particularly confident about him. Okay, let's try See the Fire, shall we? Who was wildly impressive. By far the most visually impressive winner of the week at the York Dante meeting. She was very, very strong in the betting. Now we know why, Laura. She looked like a Juddmonte International winner with the way she did that, but this was against her own sex. Let's try and put some context in it. How good could she be this season?
She could be anything. I mean, I wouldn't be in a rush to take on the Colts yet. You obviously want to get that Group 1 first under her belt. But we saw Blue Stocking win the race last year and go on to do what she did. So I think she's got a pretty poly entry. I would like to see her show up there. I think that would suit. Interestingly, she's 2 from 2 at York, and that's obviously where Arabian Queen down Golden Horn famously. She must like York. Maybe the Yorkshire Oaks might be a better shout for her down the line. But yeah, very impressive. She's last year without winning a top race, she was always mixing it with the best. You know, she was running behind Anmat in the Champions Stakes. She was up against Alassi, Tamfana. She got close to Opera Singer. City of Troy as well. So her form is top class, and it's great to see her do something like that, especially with a pedigree like that as well. It's just something that we love to see, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that a mile 4 would suit her?
Yeah, I definitely. There's no reason to think that that she wouldn't get it anyway. I mean, the manner that she's done it, she's a tractable filly. You know, she's straightforward enough ride. So yeah, I wouldn't see it as a problem.
I vividly remember her mother winning the Juddmonte International and me going, how the hell did that just happen? With poor old Golden Horns flailing away in the background. She obviously loves York. It suits her very, very well. It's going to be really intriguing to see what the Balding team choose to do with her. Adam, what did you make of the performance?
Well, you just can't be anything but really, she win by 12 lengths. The first thing I do when the horse wins out fives, I think, let's have a look at the times. Because normally you can beat with a stick and say, well, the other's in behind for nothing. But 2 seconds faster than the Dante winning time. Second was really good. Paul's miles clear of the rest. I mean, like Laura said, she could be anything, and you wouldn't really be in a rush to take her on next time at this stage.
It was visually very impressive, and obviously, from a timer's perspective, Archie, it was impressive too.
Yeah, I was pretty blown away with it. I was just watching it. Sheen was just there quiet, and then when she found the gap and she was asked to go, she just went for it, didn't she? Yeah, she reminded me a lot of her mother, and I wouldn't be surprised to see her back in the Juddmonte in August.
Yeah, I can see her doing that. It's going to be really interesting to see, do they just keep her to her own sex, Jamie, which obviously she ran, as Laura was saying, she had some great top-class form last season with Opera Singer and the likes. But there's no reason to think she wouldn't be able to mix it with the boys if she's able to put up a performance like that. For all that York can be a funny track, some horses love it. She obviously does. Some horses just don't like it there at all. But that was a stunning performance.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I suppose. But I think if she's ever going to win a Grade 1, I think she should stay to her own sex and she'll win the Yorkshire Oaks. Yeah, York. She ran there at Sandown on her debut behind the I don't know what I'm going to call that horse, Elazzi, on debut. But yeah, I wouldn't be in love with her now to win a Juddmonte, even though she was third, obviously, behind Emmet in the Champion Stakes. But I think if she's ever going to have a Group 1 next to her name, it's the Yorkshire Oaks for me, yeah.
Okay, Yorkshire Oaks gets a sizable mention from a few of the team for See the Fire. Let's go to Rebels Romance. Legend. An absolute hero of our times. Dual Breeders' Cup Turf hero, including the reigning champion. The first 6-year-old to win the race. Stretches out to a mile 6. Still don't know if he stays because they have crawled in this race, and really his class is what got him through, Laura. He's a brilliant, brilliant racehorse. Fair play to Godolphin, because Charlie Appleby could easily send a whole load of his team back to America and mop up those middle distance races. Didn't quite work out for him last year as it had done in previous years. But this horse would just be too good for a lot of those American horses over a mile 4. And yet they've decided, now let's try staying with him. And so far it's worked. What did you make of him?
Yeah, I was impressed with it. I mean, on a whole, the race itself was really disappointing. The lack of pace. I suppose the one thing we did learn from it is that while he did over race slightly, there was a lot of people saying, oh, would he settle over 2 miles at Goodwood? Well, he'll probably settle the same as he did there, because they'll probably go maybe a touch quicker, to be honest. So like 2 lengths covered the field at the finish. It turned into a sprint, and he's the fastest horse amongst the 5. We know that anyway before the race. So we haven't really learned anything. I agree, fair play to Godolphin for having a go. They've spotted a little gap in the market. Kyprios, yeah, he dominates the division, but he's one horse, and you shouldn't stay away from one horse. So I can see what they're doing, and I'd like to see him keep going in this division as well, at least until we find out if he does stay or not. But as you say, we haven't learned that. We haven't learned anything from it. So
yeah, the only thing we've learned is that he can give away a penalty, Adam, against horses who are slower than him over a mile 6. The question then is going to be, can he do this again? Well, he won't have to give away the penalty the next day. Is he going to be able to stretch out to 2 miles at Goodwood? And how is he going to fare against Kyprios? And there's breaking news today. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know whether this is true or not. But Illinois has been backed into favourite for the Gold Cup, and Kyprios is on the drift. This could be absolute nonsense and complete fakery, with some bookmakers just trying to steal a bit of cash. Oh yeah, there's a risk. One thing I can say for certain: if Kyprios is okay, he'll run in the Gold Cup. None of the other Coolmore horses will. There'll be no Jan Bruegel, there'll be no Illinois. It'll be Kyprios and Kyprios only. But if for some reason he misses the race, then it becomes a much more open race. But Rebels Romance versus Kyprios in the Goodwood Cup, what do you think of that prospect?
Well, I think last Friday's race taught us absolutely nothing about what might happen in that race. Finishing speed was 116%. you and I would have still been in contention at the 4th furlong, Emmet. If it was that slow.
Maybe you, mate, not me. Not a hope. I'd be pulled up at the back of the field, being covered
maybe
full of water.
Maybe a golf cart, but it's more just the point of kind of they went so slow. And yes, he's dug himself out of trouble, but he's beaten Epic Poet and Sweet William by a length, giving them weight, admittedly, but I don't think anyone thinks either of those are going to be anywhere near Kyprios if he's on form. I guess the scenario for them is I think they'd almost want Kyprios to be there, because I think if Kyprios is there, it's a smaller field in the Gold Cup. Less people will be rolling the dice in a Group 1 if they've got to take on Kyprios. If Kyprios isn't there, there's a whole raft of stayers who will go, well, look, we can't beat him, but we could beat the rest of them, or we could certainly finish in there. Suddenly you get a bigger field. When you get a bigger field, you get a more honest gallop. I'm not convinced Rebels Romance is... I've never looked at him and thought, I tell you what, this lad needs 2 mile 4 or 2 mile 2. I'm just not. I think if he wins at places like Shartin, Doha, wins in the States, that's not staying form. That's speed and ability at middle distance. So could he beat Kyprios in a sprint finish? Yes. So if he bumped into him in one of these small fields with 5 or 6 runners and it was a bit of a falsely run affair and it became a sprint, he might do him. But surely if it's a real staying test, it just does him for stamina.
Archie, what are your thoughts?
I actually saw a post-race. Charlie Appleby said that they're going to drop him back to a mile and a half to go for the Coronation Cup or the Hardwick before he goes back over to America. They said he'll probably go for the Canadian International Woodbine. But on this performance, I think, he's 7 years old now. He's not getting any younger. He's obviously not the force of old over a mile and a half and up to a mile 6 here. See what he can do. But I think he wouldn't get anywhere near Kyprios. I think dropping him back to a mile and a half and sending him back overseas is probably the right option to try and mop up some weaker races.
Was he still saying the Coronation Cup after the race, Archie?
Yeah, he was saying the Coronation Cup or the Hardwick.
Why is he 12-1 then, Jamie? Because I know Clandagan's coming over and Clandagan this and Clandagan that. Yeah, Clandagan will blow the start and maybe he'll have the superb turn of foot to go and get up, maybe. But he's even money. Multiple Group 1 winner, dual Breeders' Cup Turf hero, winner of Group 1s on multiple continents. Rebels Romance is 12-1. That's insane.
I think he after the race, first off, anyway, that was just a terrible race. I thought it was woeful. And it's just woeful. But I think I said in my own head that he'll run the Hardwick. I think because exactly what Adam said earlier is that is it ever going to rain in Ireland and Britain again? And if it's fast ground in the Hardwick, he'll frighten off a load of people over a mile and a half because they didn't do a great mile and a half. It's run in the Hardwick at Ascot. And he'll just spin that and back, as Archie said, they're back overseas and win soft grade 1s. That's for me. That's revolutionary.
Yeah, for all the, just to put a button on this, Laura, it would be fantastic to see him stretched out in the stamina division and see what he can do against Kyprios.
He won't get anywhere near Illinois, no.
Yeah, Illinois is too battle hardened and has too much stamina and class. And Rebels Romance still has that turn of foot, Laura. I want to see him over the mile 4 in Group 1, Grade 1 company.
Yeah, it was a funny decision, really, like whether they just thought the race was cutting up and they thought they'd go and win it, and they were right. So I suppose it's not really a funny decision, is it? It was a great decision by them, but it's interesting to hear that they're going to go back to the mile and a half. I think it's the right thing to do with the horse. It's where he's happy. Obviously, he's getting on in years, but he's still shown that he's got a lot of class and a lot of speed. So stick with the mile and a half, if you were mine.
12-1 for the Coronation Cup. That's obscenely big. That's got to be taken. Illinois, 6-4 favorite. So as we're recording, there is no confirmation. Nothing is out there. But there is a major bookmaker who has gone 6-4 about Illinois for the Gold Cup at Ascot. Kyprios on the drift out to 5-2. It's not like they're giving him away completely, but none of that bodes particularly well. And we did get a real fright with them. So the update from Aidan O'Brien on Sunday on Racing TV was very, very positive. He was saying he's probably the most X-rate horse in training and that he's fine. They were happy with him. He was walking okay. But it did look like he'd picked up an injury on the Friday night. What do you make of the drift, first of all, Laura? And then what did you make of his comeback? Well, his second run of the season.
Yeah, well, it was a good run, as he expected. A little bit, I guess he got a little bit idle in front, but and obviously very concerning. Very concerning to see him. I didn't see him take the lame steps, but obviously it was mentioned. It is concerning. Like a horse like him, he's a people's horse. He's a horse that everybody loves. It's well versed that he has had his issues and that they nearly lost him. So I think it'd be really, really awful if something happened to him. So of course they're gonna wrap him in cotton wool and they'll be very conservative with him. But yeah, I just hope first and foremost that the horse is okay, above all else. And everybody wants to see him at Ascot. Everybody wants to see him, achieve history. He's a brilliant, brilliant horse. And it was mentioned at the start of the season that he might run in the Arc at the end of the year. I don't know if he actually got an entry. But I mean, I'd love to see that as well. I don't necessarily think he'd win it, but I'd just love to see him do it, and see him stack up against the best of the 1.5 division at the end of the year. There is a French horse that I have an eye on since March for the Gold Cup. He's belonging to Francis-Henri Graffard has him. He's called Candelari. Frankel. He beat Double Major in a conditions race on the all-weather and went by him like he was standing still. He has since been beaten. He was had beaten half a length in a Group 3, I think, his first time stepping up to Mile 7. But again, Graffard was waxing lyrical about him after the race in March. He said they just wanted to take their time with him, and he's still in the Gold Cup. And yeah, if he rocks on up there, I'd be really interested to see how he gets on. Okay,
that horse's spelling is Candelari. And I can't help but notice that he's gone from 25-1 into 16-1 and 12-1. So clearly Laura Joy has done more damage. Smashing and grabbing bookmakers across Ireland.
My £1 each way, is moving markets.
It's like scumbag each way doubles been going left, right, and centre. You're going to make an absolute fortune, Laura. You're going to destroy all these bookmakers. I'm loving it. Okay, the comeback of Kyprios. Well, second run of the season. I don't know why I keep saying comeback, Adam. And the fear about him drifting. Like, is this just a ploy from bookmakers who are like, we can cause a bit of chaos here now? Is there a pot noodle man somewhere causing a mess on the exchanges? Does that even work anymore? Is the Betfair exchange just completely dead? Can you actually influence the betting market in that way anymore?
Well, I think you can, but I don't think this isn't like when Nicky Henderson's yard all lay one of theirs in Cheltenham. This is slightly
allegedly.
Well, this is slightly different in terms of it's not like if you looked at Royal Ascot anti-post, there'd be £500,000 in the exchange market these days. So it doesn't take a lot, and it's probably, maybe there is something about it, or who knows, but it seems unlikely. I think it's far more likely people just hedging their bets. And a lot of people will probably take the view, well, if Kyprios doesn't win, Illinois will. So we can actually Dutch the two of them and cover our stakes. It wouldn't really... if he was 25-1, then by all means, then you'd start to think the alarm bells are ringing. But he's only 5-2. This is probably people just trying to get the right side of Illinois on the assumption that if Kyprios doesn't run, he'll be the substitute.
Yeah, which I'm not so sure that he is, Archie. Like the reaction from Aidan O'Brien to his win at Chester was, yeah, we'll go back to a Mile 4. They go for the Coronation. They were talking about the Hardwick Stakes. He wasn't talking about a Gold Cup at Ascot. And this isn't what Aidan O'Brien does. You don't go to Chester and then go to the Gold Cup. That's not Aidan O'Brien's modus operandi. You take in those 2 Irish races. So this would be very, very different. And I'm not even sure that he's conditioned for a Gold Cup. Like, absolutely, next season, he could be ideal for that race. But does Illinois scream to you as the automatic Gold Cup horse for Aidan O'Brien this season in the absence of Kyprios?
Yeah, I would say if Kyprios doesn't go, I can imagine he will go, but because he won't run Jan Bruegel and Illinois in the same race, will he? But like looking at the whole Gold Cup picture, it's such a poor race. Like he's got Courage Mon Ami, who's had almost 2 years off the track. I don't think much of that horse Candelari. He was impressive earlier in the season, but he was beaten the other day. And then Trollerman isn't the same horse as he was. I think if Kyprios is fine, I don't know what to make of this drift, but if Kyprios is fine, he just hoovers up this race. He's miles clear of the rest.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, Jamie. I think this is the time where we just kind of have to be a little bit brave. Bet like men. Find out which exact races are we happy with. Like, if you're absolutely adamant about Rosallion and I'm adamant about Storm Boy, and Laura, who was the horse that you were super confident about that you smashed into 8-1?
Porta Fortuna.
Yeah, thank you. Porta Fortuna for the Queen Anne. So you can Dutch Rosallion Porta Fortuna and just stick him in with Kyprios because he'll be even money on the day, assuming everything is all right.
I think he's in trouble, Emmet.
Oh, no.
I don't think you'll see him. I think there's. I know they say he's the most scanned horse and he's the most looked after horse in the yard, whatever. And we love exactly what Lawrence. It'd be great to see him come back when it's through. I think he's in trouble. I said in your last show after him winning the Ormond Stakes that Illinois is the Gold Cup horse. He's the one who's going to take over.
You did, to be fair.
I backed it at 8-1. I'm very happy at the moment. Now, hopefully, it's not a fake gamble. I hope he win. But all jokes aside, we love to see Kyprios there. Hopefully he will, but I think he's in trouble. That's just me. And Illinois will go here, and Illinois, no one will touch Illinois in the Gold Cup without Kyprios.
Do you think there's any chance that Jan Bruegel is the one who goes instead, or is it just going to be Illinois?
No, Illinois is just better.
Okay. Jan Bruegel did beat him in the St. Ledger, but he also looked like he had a horrible head carriage on his comeback. I didn't know what to make of that. Maybe he just didn't like the ground that day. Very briefly, horse, we'll talk about Laura, who's not qualified for Royal Ascot. They could go for one of the other races, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And the rules for the Chesham qualification have changed, so he's not eligible for that race. But Italy was very heavily backed and looked like an exciting prospect.
Yeah, he did. He looked very good. As you say, Ascot, probably not for him. He looks a big scopy horse, big strong horse, and he's from the family of Serpentine, so it's a family that's just, he should get better with time and a trip. So maybe something more like the Superlative might be on his immediate future rather than Royal Ascot. You'd be a little bit concerned of him over 6, I think, in the Coventry.
Yeah, City of Troy race worked out pretty nicely for him in the end. It might very well work out nicely for Italy as well. It was a really smart performance from him, Adam. I'm sure it's frustrating to them that they can't take him to the Chesham, but don't think Aidan O'Brien is stuck for a couple of juveniles for Royal Ascot.
No, I don't think so either. I thought, looking at all the 2-year-olds we've seen, that Aidan's are probably in front. I think that there's a couple of his are probably a little bit further ahead, certainly amongst the colt. Charles Darwin, we didn't learn anything of him winning at 1-14, but he still looks a nice prospect. There's plenty going on there. I certainly think the Irish are a long way ahead of the 2-year-olds I've been clocking in France at the moment, and there's not too many in the UK. Maybe the Godolphin winner yesterday at Newmarket might be a bit special, but we haven't seen an absolute superstar yet. Italy was obviously very good. There's plenty to go, but there's also 4 weeks to go. There's nothing to stop something coming out this weekend and blowing us all away. So it's sort of hold the powder dry for now, and then if they're still in the same position in a month's time, there might be a sort of scumbag Ballydoyle each way Trixie or something where I put the 3 together and see what we come up with.
Yeah, Norfolk Stakes, Coventry, the Windsor Castle. I mean, these are all races that the Coolmore team love to target, never mind the Chesham and, of course, the Albany as well. Basically everything at Royal Ascot. They just want to win it all, and they tend to do it year in, year out. So the horses from the weekend that we wanted to talk about in terms of juveniles, Lady A Man, a fantastic weekend for Ger Lyons, particularly a really good day. She looked very, very impressive. Charles Darwin, for a second I thought he was beaten. Maybe I was just overreacting there, but 14-1 on, one of the shortest price favourites you'll ever see run in Ireland. He won, but we learned nothing. Gstaad, I thought, looked pretty decent on his debut, particularly seeing as that's a horse that Aidan O'Brien was highlighting at the start of the season as one to follow, and yet he was sent off a 7-1 shot. He was taking on a raced stable companion, but still, interestingly, that horse drifted the way he did. And we can talk a little bit about humidity as well. So, of all of the juveniles we've seen, Archie, who really stands out to you with a view to Royal Ascot?
Albert Einstein is a beast. I'm just going to say this now. He's just a worldie, this horse. Like, there's always been really good talk about him, things about him, and obviously the way he won in debut, it was just mesmerising stuff. Like he pulled 12 lengths clear of the third. With their Lions horse, he was getting better the further he was going, and I think he's nailed on to win the Coventry. I can't see anything beating him. And I've also backed Charles Darwin for the Norfolk. I think Aidan's going to win that one with him too.
Okay, which Aidan O'Brien horse were you talking about for the Coventry?
Albert Einstein.
Okay, all right. Laura, do you agree with that incredibly bullish assessment from Archie?
Yeah, he looked every bit as good as the rumours had suggested he would be when he ran. So yeah, no, it's hard to see against him. Yeah, to see anything.
What did you make of Lady A Man? Let's go with her for a little bit. Gives Ger Lyons some flowers again after Babouche. She looked really nice. Yeah,
she did. I really liked the way she did it as well. She really had to knock out, and a great result, obviously, for her first crop sire, Starman. It was a 1-2 for him in the race. I thought it was interesting that she stepped up to 6. Maybe they were trying to decide whether they're going Albany or Queen Mary. And it looked like, I mean, I don't think she needed it, but she looks a very straightforward filly. I think she could go for either. She's a half sister to Westacre, who is still a brilliant horse. I know he didn't perform a World Cup night, but he's a bit more tricky. I was over in Dubai in the winter, and he wasn't that straightforward. He's getting ponied down and, spinning around, didn't want to go on the track and trotting to post, whereas she just looks like in the stalls, point and shoot, ask her to go, and she does it. So yeah, I really, really liked her.
Yeah, it was a very professional performance, and the betting was really strong about Simply Astounding, Adam. She is very disappointing. I mean, that runs too bad to be true from her, but you can't take anything away from what Ger Lyons filly did. She looked professional, she looked classy.
Yeah, really classy, really full of speed as well. The sectional times in the middle part of the race are really good. I like the way she hit the line. Ger Lyons' record is a little bit of a concern, perhaps, but I just felt like she looks really precocious and like she's going to strike. She's always got that ability when you're watching a 2-year-old like that, where you think, actually, she's got another gear if she needs it. And when she's asked in that final furlong, she finds again. The form in behind maybe not be the strongest, but she can only beat what she's got in front of her. I really quite like this. I don't know, those fillies raised at Royal Ascot just ring a few alarm bells for me. I've been done by so many, and I've got another one on my radar, one of Wesley Ward's called Pinky Finger, who looks absolutely exceptional around Keeneland. So she's kind of like, if she rocked up in one of these, it'd be interesting as well, because the pace will form around her. But what you need with likes Lady Aman is, you've got a nice big field, you're guaranteed a strong pace, she's going to stay on really well. It's kind of everything you want at Ascot. Maybe it is more obvious than it looks.
Okay, we need to get Wesley Ward back on the show and find out more about this Pinky Finger for you between now and then. We'll do that. I'll make a note of that, and we'll make that happen. Jimmy, what did you make of Lady Aman for the Ger Lyons team and her prospects at Royal Ascot?
Yeah, it's like Laura said there, like, are they deciding Queen Mary or the Albany? I think on the race in the Curragh, I backed her for the Queen Mary at 6-1. I think she'll go Queen Mary. The stiffer 5 will suit her than the 6 at the Albany at this stage of her career. But she looks top class filly, and like first season Siren and Starman, like, there's another run in tomorrow, I think, who's a sharp price. They'll come out and they'll start to excel now. But she's a really good horse, yeah, I think. Yeah. But exactly what Adam says, and I said it, I'm not being hypocritical myself, it's Ger Lyons' record at Royal Ascot, and I've been stung by a lot of fillies and Albanese and Queen Mary's thinking they're absolute machines, but it's a Royal Ascot race at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think we all have been. We've all been lured into a false sense of security of thinking, oh, that horse is going to replicate that form or improve for Ascot, and then wah. And that's one of the things that we need to bear in mind with Simply Astounding, Archie, because if they're going to send her off such a short price favourite, there's every chance she just bounces back and slaps us in the face one of these days.
Yeah, it was a real shame to see, actually, because I thought we were going to get a round on between Lady Aman and her, and obviously she ran as if it was a miss, but knowing Aidan O'Brien, he can do pretty quick things, so it wouldn't be a surprise to see her win at Ascot. But if we're looking at a few other 2-year-olds, I thought Trianmore, the Franco, ran yesterday at Newmarket, looked really good, pulled clear, away he went. Andab, who won a Curragh Maiden for O'Brien by almost 5 lengths, he looks pretty promising as well. There's a filly called Lenny Lou, who Patrick Biancone trains in Florida. She won the Royal Palm. She looks pretty nice as well. And then there was a filly called Gold Digger, who won Yarmouth. They paid 260 grand for her at the pre-ups, and she looks pretty nice too.
Nice, especially those American horses coming over. We need to reach out to more of the American. By the way, the 2 American boys I had on the podcast on Thursday, the views for that weren't as good as they normally are. Well, you missed out, suckers. 12-1 winner from Charlie on the undercard, a 5-1 winner on the undercard, and they both, Ryan and Charlie, had the exacta in the Preakness, which paid 33-1, and the TriCast, which paid 76-1. The boys will be back on the Final Furlong podcast very, very soon. They were unbelievably confident about journalism, but to land the trifecta and the exacta, boom, happy days. But we'll find out more about those American horses between now and then as well. Any other juveniles to watch out for? So Humidity I thought was good. The horse in second is Coolmore owned, and he's a brother to Van Dijk's brother is Gestad. So we need to talk him up, because we had the breeder of Van Dijk on the show not so long ago, which means we also had the breeder of Gestad on the show. I'm amazed that he was sent off 7-1. Didn't have a bean on him. Laura, I was standing there talking to Kylie in my friend's house in Cork. My jaw on the floor. Go, how was he sent off 7-1? Any other 2-year-olds we should be keeping an eye on with a view to Royal Ascot?
Well, just on Gustad before we move on, I thought, he was really impressive, and it's worth noting just on the price that his brother or half brother Van Dijk, he was also a very laid back horse, very laid back at home, not a flashy workhorse, from what I've been told anyway, out of the Christopher camp. So potentially that's the same for Gustad, and he's a little bit of a sleeper, and that's the way you like to see him do it: sleep at home and then show up on the day. And the form stacks up as well. The second, True Love, was actually second to Lady Aman in the first flyer. So that was over 6, I think, wasn't it? So whether he'll be second string to Albert Einstein, I'd imagine he probably will. But I'd keep him on side. Hopefully he can go off a big price there as well. And I have to agree with Archie about the Franco name. I just cannot get right. Tranmore, however you say it. The way he went through the race was so impressive. I was blown away by him.
Okay, is that the £2 million colt?
Yeah. Easy to pick that one, isn't it? But
well, there's been quite a few of those horses that they spent fortunes on, and it turned out they were absolutely useless. But he does look like a proper superstar, in fairness. Okay, so those horses all go into the tracker. I thought I need to look up his name. The Coolmore horse that was second for the Chrisfords, actually, with Van Dijk's brother winning this weekend, to Humidity. Both of them look like proper group class performers. The cameraman, Archie, did you just tell me the name of the horse?
Title.
No.
Title 1? Is it Title 1?
Title Roll. That's the one.
Yeah.
The cameraman was absolutely convinced that he had won and followed him. But Seb Saunders on Sky was like, no. Humidity's won that race. What are you doing? It was a very, very tight finish, though, and the betting was telling you that Title Roll is going to be a really nice horse. Both of these horses, there was only a short head between them. It was a photo finish. Both of these horses are going to be very, very smart going forward. Humidity and Title Roll, I would favour Title Roll. I think he'll improve for that, but only just. Anybody else we should be looking out for?
Just one other from like a little bit left field, or two in fact from left field. The first is Revival Power, who won the opening race for fillies at Thirsk on Saturday. She's a full sister to Winter Power for Tim Easterby. Went off at 22s, I think it was, so they obviously weren't expecting a great deal, but did really well to win from a difficult position. Straight after the race, Tim Easterby was like, she's been quite difficult at home, but we thought we'd roll the dice, and now we're going to Ascot. I don't think she's probably good enough, but she's got absolutely bags of speed. There's probably a race for the Easterbys to win. And then I couldn't let the 2-year-olds go without wedge content for you. There is a 2-year-old filly called No Tune, who's 2 from 2 for the Wertheimers and Christopher Head. She was really impressive at Chantilly on Friday, beat Mujib by 3 lengths. She's not Ascot bound. She's going for the Group 3 at Chantilly on the 12th. But she is the best 3-year-old that we've seen in France so far this season.
Oh, follow that, please, Jamie Wrenn.
No, I don't have much really, Emmet. It's just the ones I've seen, really, basically. Is it qualified for the Chesham? Can it run in the Chesham mechanic, can't it?
Who, Italy?
No, Italy. I know Italy can, because I knew straight away when Aidan O'Brien said it down that he's one for the futurity at Curran, the Beresford, sees that type of a horse.
I tell you who'll know this. Laura will know.
Who are we asking about? Is it Gustad or who? Yeah. Yeah, no, he's Star Spangled Banner, so he won't.
But he's not qualified for the Chesham, no?
No, he can't. It's to do with the sire. The sire has to have won over a mile and a quarter.
Yeah.
So obviously, Star Spangled was, the sprinter. So.
Oh, right. Sorry, I didn't realise that.
They had changed it counted for the dam as well.
Yeah, I see the rules have changed.
It changed. Yeah, I think this year is the first year it's changed.
Yeah.
Oh, you'd be second string, so to have probably then. Exactly what Laura said. True Love maybe probably run in the Albany would have a chance. I think Wayne Norton, Nevin yourself, Emmet, you go into the dip there and you think you've won, but you haven't quite won, and that's what just that looked like a stare in the making anyway, up to 7 furlongs to a mile. Eventually he will later on in the season. But True Love, I wouldn't, especially exactly with the form behind Lady Aman, wouldn't give up on her for an Albany,
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There might be a chance she ends up going there as some sort of elaborate second string with people going, oh, she's been beaten a couple of times. Boom, goes and strikes. Brave Anna style. Although I think Brave Anna had won, but she was sent off 20s.
Yeah.
Okay, very quickly, winners of our competition. We teamed up with our friends at QuinBet to give you the chance to win tickets to the Irish Guineas Festival all 3 days. Congratulations to Malachy Sheridan, Brad Maxley, Josh Mythen Hogan, Carol Ann, and Irish Racing 7. I have no idea what your name is, Irish Racing 7, but all of you have won tickets for all 3 days of the Curragh. You and a friend, courtesy of ourselves and QuinBet, enjoy the Tattersalls Irish Guineas. I'll be there on the Saturday with QuinBet doing a preview in the big hall. Looking forward to it. We'll be there for the afternoon. Should be great fun. Hopefully we'll see Porta Fortuna back in the winners enclosure. And who knows who wins the Irish 2000 Guineas. More on that between now and race day. Laura, where can Final Furlong Podcast listeners and viewers see your work in the near future?
Well, I'm managing editor of European Bloodstock News now, so that's where all my writing goes into EBN. But full disclaimer, everything that I've said here is my own opinion, not from EBN. I've gotten in trouble for that before. So yeah, anything there. If you can follow European Bloodstock News actually on Twitter, they often will repost articles, features, interviews, pedigree research, anything like that. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Excellent. I know this wasn't your actual debut, but it is your first proper outing on the show, and it was a superb debut. Well done. I hope we have you back on very, very soon.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it was great to have you on. Thank you for your insight. Adam, when is the next TPD stuff coming out?
We have a review of the data from the Preakness Stakes that hopefully ATR will publish later today or first thing tomorrow. And then alongside that is my own work. I have watched both 3-year-old hurdles from Ortoy this weekend 16 times. So I've analysed the Fillies race, that's already out, and then I'll do the Colts race tomorrow as well. I know people never seem to stop, so we may as well wedge that in, even though it's May.
You're too polite, by the way, to interject. I completely forgot to get your thoughts on the German 2000 Guineas. Tell us, who won? Why is it significant?
It's just like really left field. Normally, I'd just sort of look at the German Guineas and think, well, that's just the sort of side race. But I was watching it this year because Vertical Blue was in it. She is the only horse to have beaten Zaragana. I know that's a controversial statement, but it is true. Beat her in the Marcel Busek. Now, Vertical
Asher
Blue
Watts is going to have you killed.
Yeah, he probably will. He probably will, especially if he hears my opinion. I think the stewards are right. But Vertical Blue ran.
That's why I like Adam Mills. Straight to the point.
Yeah, well, this is French racing, not English. You don't get to apply English rules in France. Come along. Brexit meant we have to separate and live with the European rules when we go over there. That's how it works, lads. Get over it.
Dead right.
But in terms of this race, Vertical Blue ran no race, finished last. She's got a massive stride, and maybe that was the reason for not handling the track at Cologne. But out of left field, this thing called Matilda won by 8 lengths, 0.06 seconds outside the track record. I don't think anything in behind was particularly special, but she's the first filly to win that race in over 50 years. The time was really, really good. And it's just worth like having a little watch of it on YouTube. If you type Guineas, unless you speak German, you won't understand the commentary, but it's easy to pick the winner from the 2 furlong pole. Still looks quite green, quite immature, flashing the tail at times, but this looks like a serious filly. And because she's won a German race, people may not necessarily pick it up.
And that German form has worked out very, very well. Rebels Romance was winning German Group 1s, for example. What's the name of the horse again?
It's Matilda. She won the German 2000 Guineas, which is actually a Group 2, we should say, but she was a filly in against the boys.
Okay. Put her in your tracker and keep a close eye on her. Any idea where she's going next?
Not
female ridden and female trained as well, just throw it in there.
Who was on board?
Frida Valaskar. She's a Norwegian jockey based in France.
Excellent. Archie, when is the podcast launching?
Yeah, it should be in the next few days. I'm just getting everything sorted. You know, when you're starting something like that from scratch, you need to bring all the all together. It's just taking a while to get going, but I'm hoping it'll be out this week.
Nice. Oh, this week? Even better. Okay, well, we'll have you back on between now and then. I was going to say we'll have you back on the next couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
Hopefully, and we'll talk more about that podcast then. And Jamie, where are we seeing you next?
Back at my show with Liam and Ginger Joe. We'll have something out during the week, all right? Probably another weekend preview. Kind of staying with the flat this year. Normally give up after Punchestown, but we're going with it. Oh, good.
Nice. Sounds good. More the merrier. All right, from Laura Joy, Adam Mills, Archie Brooks, Jamie Wrenn, and me, Emmet Kennedy, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Final Furlong Podcast. I presume by now you've hit the like button. Obviously you did. There's no way that you sat here watching this great content, all of this gold information from these stellar people, and you didn't press the like button. That would just be incredibly rude and deeply arrogant. So obviously you already did, and we thank you for that. From the team and from me, look after yourself and each other. God bless.
In horse racing, every furlong matters and every episode counts. So stay ahead of the field by hitting subscribe to the Final Furlong podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. It's free and it gets you one step closer to the winner's enclosure. Subscribe to the Final Furlong podcast and join us on the gravy train.